A good Erev Shabbos. I hope you're having a great day. You know, there's a famous little anecdote about the mayor of Haifa who's walking with his wife in the center of the city. And as they're walking, there's a construction crew that's working on the street. And one of the construction workers sees them walking and looks at the woman and says, "Hey, Sarah," to the mayor's wife. And Sarah looks back and says, "Oh, David, my old friend, how are you?" And they chat for 5 minutes and then they continue walking. The mayor turns to his wife and says, "Tell me, who's that?" He says, "You know who that is? That was actually my high school sweetheart. You know, I almost married him, but then things didn't go the way they should." So the mayor looks at his wife with this little smirk and he looks back at the guy working on the street in the construction. He says, "All right, you see, thank God you married me, or else you would have been married to the construction worker." And his wife, without skipping a beat, Sarah looks at her husband and says, "No, if I would have married him, he would have been the mayor of the town." In this week's Torah portion, we read about Jacob coming to find his wife in Mesopotamia, his wife that his mother Rebecca sent him to find. And he comes to the well. In the center of town, they used to have a well where people would come to get water for their animals, for their homes. And he sees all the people are gathered, all the shepherds, and they're not doing anything. They're just chilling. So Jacob says, "Achai, brothers, from where are you?" And then he looks at them and he says, "Tell me, what are you sitting here and chilling? It's the middle of the day. There's still work to do." And they tell him, "Listen, there's a big stone on the well, and we don't know how to take it off ourselves. We wait for everyone to come, and then we roll off the stone, and we're able to feed our sheep and our cattle and take water for what we need." It's the question all the commentaries ask, I don't understand. Jacob doesn't know these people. He shows up in the middle of nowhere, and what does he tell them? "Hey, buddies, what are you doing chilling out? Why don't you go work?" Imagine if you meet a construction worker on the street in Haifa or anywhere, and you don't know, and you tell him, "Hey, buddy, why didn't you go work? What are you kibitzing and drinking Starbucks?" Either he'd sock you in the face, or at best he would ignore you or scream at you or berate you. But here, Jacob tells them, and they listen to him, they respond to him. What's the trick? The rabbis tell us something so powerful. You know what happened there? What did Jacob do? He sees them, and what's the first thing he does? He says, "Achai, my dear brothers, may I Boston, where are you from? What's up?" He inquires about their life. He talks to them. He speaks to them he asks them how their family's doing. And then after he builds up a little bit of a relationship, he says to them, "Hey guys, what's going on here in the middle of the day?" The key answer to everything is not what you say, but how you say it. There's a famous anecdote that said, no one cares how much you know, but everyone wants to know how much you care. When you meet someone, and instead of berating them, instead of saying something negative, you lift them up, you make them feel good, you tell them something kind, something caring, then, even if you have to say constructive criticism, people listen, people want to hear. But when all we do is speak negative or berate people or sit on social media and shout at each other, and no one wants to listen to us. And that's the trick of our civilization and what we're missing more than ever. We're missing the Jacobs, the ones who are kind, who are gentle, who inquire, who love, and are able to then say the things that have to be said. Reb Shlomo Carlebach, the famous songwriter and musician, he loved helping people in Manhattan, especially the homeless, and everyone where he lived in New York. And whenever he went, he would go by and he would give money to the poor. And one time there was a homeless guy sitting near Grand Central outside, and Shlomo Carlebach sees him, and the guy asks him for money, and he right away opens up, takes out his pocket wallet, and he sees he has no cash, 4 credit cards. He looks in the next one, all his pockets, he sees he has no money. He feels terrible, but he looks at the guy and he says, "My holy brother, I feel terrible, but I have nothing to give you." And the guy looks at him and he says, "What are you talking about? You're giving me more than anyone." So Shlomo Carlebach says, "Really? I haven't given you anything. What do you mean I've given you more than anyone?" He says, "You're the first person who ever called me a holy brother, who gave me that affection, that care." Sometimes it's the words we say, the civility we have, that leads to kindness. There's something else interesting in this week's Torah portion. In the beginning of the portion, after Jacob has his dream and he erects a monument for God, and he says to God, he makes a promise that if God will give him lechem lechol beged lilbosh, God will give him bread to eat, and he'll also give him clothing to wear, then he promises to God that he's going to tithe and he's going to give it away. The question all the rabbis ask is, everyone knows that food you eat, and everyone knows that clothing you have to wear. So what does Jacob have to say? Give me lechem lechol beged lilbosh. Give me bread to eat and give me clothing to wear. And the answer the rabbis say is like this: two very important messages that connect to this. The first one they say is very simple, and it's a little different, but it's a powerful point. So sometimes people they can't eat, they're not well, or they could have a walk-in closet full of the most beautiful clothing, but they're not capable of wearing it, they can't get out, they're sick. So Jacob asks, hey, I want to have the clothing, I want to have all these things, but I want to be able to enjoy it. But then there's something much deeper, and it connects to the kindness I spoke about. You know, Jacob says like this: sometimes God gives us enough clothing beyond what we could wear. And he gives us enough food way beyond what we could eat. But why is he giving it to us? If he's giving us more than we need, is it just to store in our closets and to collect more? But the answer is that God's giving us all this because he wants us to share it with someone else. And that's why Jacob finishes, if you give me extra, I won't just let it sit in the closet. I won't just let it sit in the fridge. I will share it with others. When we have words of kindness, when we're able to share the things that we have with others, the circle of kindness continues to go. And people are not just simple, but they're kind. Might have less than them, might think differently than them. Hashem give us to instill in each and every one of us to be able to be kind, to be able to listen, to be able to inquire of others, and to be able to share the blessings that we have with others. Shabbat Shalom.